Dale was built and designed to encompass the battle from the Battle of the Five Armies.
It's a lethal weapon.
But when we finished principal photography, for good, or what we thought was for good, we hadn't done any of the battle in Dale.
We did these relatively small sequences in the scheme of the movies.
Lovely. Thank you very much. You cut that. Fantastic, folks. Thank you very, very much. It was really well done.
After we'd finished principal photography, everyone knew that we hadn't even touched the Battle of Five Armies, and that we still had all of that to do.
We knew that in a year's time we were coming back. So we had to do a lot of wrapping up and preserving this huge set piece as well as we could.
And there it sat on the top of Mount Crawford for over a year.
So after Pete had finished with principal shooting, of course at that time it was only going to be 2 movies at that point. And then there was and then as we broke up and we went to Comic-Con, I think it was announced that it was going to be 3 movies.
From the very beginning of this project, 2.5 years ago, a 3rd movie has always been in discussion.
Look, at the end of the day, you know, you end up with a film that's too long.
Because we went to 3 movies, it did require us to expand some of the storylines and to resolve some of them in slightly different ways.
That's all being worked out now, as we speak.
You know, a battle is a whole little movie unto itself with a story and a narrative and a momentum and characters interweaving with plots and things. And finally, I had my pre-production time that I never had at the beginning, and I had almost a year to have more thinking time to figure out the battle.
Oh, it's all very nice, isn't it?
By then, of course, we had a better idea of where the big battles were going to take place. There was a lot more information.
It was cool revisiting Dale. You sort of felt like it had been a bit lonely up there by itself for the year until we came back in the pickups in 2013.
We're just pulling off all the coverings right now, getting it ready to go.
We revisited Dale and shot the hell out of it, basically.
There you go, it's going to be exciting.
I would be dead if it was real. I would have been the first to go. Everyone came back refreshed and ready to work. You know, everyone was sort of re-energised and they knew it was the end.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome back.
That unless someone decided there was going to be a 4th film, this was it.
Yo, we're back. Look out.
Yeah. All right, let's shoot. Time for some action. Right on, right on. Let's do this.
You know, pickups, you generally think of, oh, we just need to pick this shot up here and this shot here.
Need Hobbit hands, you get down.
These felt not so much like pickups. It was like, Christ, we've got to do the Battle of the Five Armies in this time, which is bigger than most movies, you know.
Pickups this time, we were actually shooting scripted drama scenes with lead cast for the whole time.
Will it stay his madness? No, lad.
Plus, we shot the dragon at the end of film 2. We shot Bree.
Let's go, shoot.
So, in many ways, that pickup period was the most intense in terms of what we had to accomplish.
Back.
And there was a sense of trepidation.
Because Peter is kind of known for extensive, ongoing pickups.
Okay, let's shoot it, guys. Shoot it, please.
And he's fearless that way. He makes no apologies for making the best film that he can make. That is his attitude, is whatever I have to do to make the best film I can make, I'm going to do it.
We were comparing people's tales of Lord of the Rings and how long that end battle took.
On Return of the King pickups, I mean, we were meant to shoot for 6 weeks and we shot for 22 weeks, so...
And they were saying, well, in Lord of the Rings, the battle alone was a 4-week shoot and we're not even there yet. We haven't even started the battle yet.
And so, yeah, we were all talking about it.
The speculation went on. We're going to be here until the end of the year. We're going to be here to the end of the year.
Literally every day everyone was going, do you realise how much we've still got to do? You know, the time is ticking. Time is ticking.
All back to Dale! To the city! Now is the hour of our doom. We have but one question before us. How shall this day end?
It definitely felt like you had to sort of galvanise yourself for the final push, you know.
Any man who wants to give their last, follow me!
The Battle of Dale was epic in terms of numbers. We set a New Zealand record in terms of the amount of stunt people hired for one particular project.
Action!
When we were shooting Dale, I had a crew of about 130 stunt guys.
We've got the biggest stunt contingency ever. Do a 360 pan. Yeah, check it out. It's crazy here.
We've been rehearsing and working out little sequences that we can actually put anywhere on the set. I'd shoot them and offer them up to Peter.
Okay. We had charges from the orcs, we had charges from the humans, we had standoffs, we had clashes, we had retreats. A lot of the stuff that we had on Lord of the Rings, like Pelennor Fields, was all based around large expansive areas. What we've never really had or not had much of was house-to-house, close-quarter battle.
The battle was so tight that there was nowhere to move, and it looked like pure mayhem. It was just wall-to-wall people just struggling to stay alive.
You know, that was really where we did a lot of stunt action. We did a lot of live action filming in the Dale set.
The tone of this fight is fighting to the last man. It's not victory, it's not... Hold on, not that fast, okay?
Because we really didn't have any dwarfs there, so scale-wise, it was a lot easier to deal with because we had humans, we had orcs and elves. So scale-wise, everything was on par, which meant that we could do a lot of the action live at Dale.
There is this one scene when we enter a square in Dale and all these orcs just come running at us. There's no CGI at all. The adrenaline was pumping that day, I have to say.
Got Billy and Tim.
I got pulled aside by Caro and said, hey, Billy Jackson's one of the extras today. We want to give him a couple of fight beats.
It's really intense. You just have to, you know, really try and pretend like you're there.
And Billy, give us a good neck slash at the end there. Really put a bit of elbow grease into it. Sure Vinny won't mind. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1, action.
Yeah, he certainly clobbered one of the stunt guys hard enough where he bends a sword.
Yeah, I bent my sword. I was hitting it so hard against the orc shield.
That was great, Bill, what you were doing, and you're not so bad either.
We had a main unit with Peter directing, and then we had a splinter unit with Christian Rivers directing, and they had a pretty high work rate.
There are a lot of fight beats that you need to actually just tell the story. So we used to do a lot of those fighting beats and things like that. It was always an adventure because you didn't really know what you were actually going to do.
You know, sometimes on Splinter Unit, we'd have a very loose brief. I mean, Pete would, up on Dale, Pete was just like, I need shots today of Orcs winning, Lake Towners losing. And we'd sort of shoot these little separate vignettes all over the place.
Problem is, and I'm sure everybody's ever said this, anybody who has to fight an orc will tell you this story, is that, you know, you do a lot of stunt training, and, you know, you're fighting these great stunt guys, and you know which one you have to fight next. Yeah, it's you, and then you, then you, then you, and then you, and then you. And then all of a sudden you get on set, and they all have full prosthetic faces, teeth, black blood coming out of their mouth, eye contact. They can't really speak properly.
I can't see it. Hold on. Huh?
And they're all coming up to me, Luke, and I'm thinking, I have no clue who any of you are.
Who's that? Who's in there?
Danger.
All right.
And then you have to start looking at their costume and working out what distinguishes this orc from that orc. So I found that quite difficult. Oh my God, just go for a slice, man. See this here? Look at this. Now, in Lord of the Rings, people were wearing this. This is metal chainmail. This is about 5 kilograms of metal that I'm carrying around in this shop. Weta is famous for creating this chainmail which wasn't as heavy. It's like made of a sort of an alloy or plastic or something like that. Unfortunately, they'd run out of it when I got to New Zealand. They had plenty of the heavy stuff, so they made my chainmail in the real stuff. How great was that? This is like carrying a baby around.
The chainmail costume that they had for him was one piece, and it was very, very heavy. And then I'm asking him to lead a big charge up the stairs, killing orcs. And in the middle of it, I had choreographed a nice dive roll for him. And he's looking at me like, you're kidding me, right?
How many times have you had to do this particular fight sequence?
10 times, and every time my jump's a little shorter. Everything's a little shorter.
See, I just get better every single time, so
Yeah.
we just sort of work off.
That's because you've been trained by the best, boy.
That is true.
And then we'll block it and just do this. This little block. If you wouldn't mind, Ollie.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Legolas Greenleaf. And you...
Hi.
Hello. Welcome to the film. I don't have my hat on at the moment. When I do, blue and pointy.
Jesus Christ. Oh, God. We'll finally get to
Kate Blanchett last year, now Evangeline this year. Something is very wrong with the world.
Yeah.
Go horse.
We rode in there on a horse, me and Tariel.
Gandalf!
We did a sequence in the studio that led into that.
Just for safety reason, we put them onto a barrel on a fake horse.
I popped my cherry on the fake horse today. Evie's sitting behind me, shooting arrows off the back.
We were told to sort of exaggerate the horse riding movements.
We were both moving in rhythm.
It really looks like a love story, if you know what I mean. A physical love story between the two.
Looks like she's riding me hard and fast. And it was kind of funny.
It looked like elf porn. And of course it went viral. It ended up online. I was glad it ended up online because it needed to be put to some bad 1970s porn music and taken advantage of.
Sorry. So we had to sort of mix it up. It was like, well, maybe, the front of the horse does something different to the back, because otherwise it really looks like, lube me up, darling.
There is a second army! Bold leads a force of Gundabad orcs. They are almost upon us.
Gundabad.
We shot for 3 days with Ian McKellen and Dale, and there was the whole Gandalf staff incident. I shouldn't even talk about the staff.
Gandalf actually had 2 staffs in The Hobbit. We wanted to have a totally new staff that he would arrive in the story with. And Philip had mentioned that Gandalf being associated with fire, like his ring is the ring of fire. So actually used a flame as a kind of a model for the look of the top of the staff, as if it were a flame turned to wood.
There's a point in the story where Gandalf's staff is destroyed by Sauron. And shortly after that, Radagast gives him his staff and says, take this, you'll need it.
If what you say is true, then you'll need it more than I. I hand it to Gandalf. And he takes it into the Lord of the Rings. Off he goes.
That is the staff that you see Gandalf with in Lord of the Rings. That's where he gets it from.
But nobody knew that when they were watching the film. That was mine.
Once Gandalf had that staff, throughout the battles that happen, we would slowly break off pieces.
I mean, they can just fall off as if whacking orcs with it.
Because he spends so much time kind of bashing orcs with this thing that twigs can kind of break off, and it can actually become that kind of final staff just through a process of wear and tear.
So by the end of the Battle of the Five Armies, there was the staff that he has in Fellowship of the Ring. So it was like a nice evolution. Anyway, we shot the scene for 3 days, and he had the wrong staff.
My lord, dispatch this force to Ravenhill. I turned up with my old staff, which had been destroyed. Well, that wouldn't do, and I don't know who pointed it out to me, but someone who was more on the ball than I.
Gandalf didn't figure it, I didn't figure it. The other 33,000 people watching didn't figure it. Until Peter finally twigged and went, he's got the wrong staff. And we realised Peter was right.
Yep. The prop guy that day was having a bit of an off day, obviously.
One of the art department guys, I won't mention his name, Matt, gave him the wrong staff.
Epic continuity error.
One of the very few errors.
One that Peter did care about.
Hopefully they've fixed it in post. Hi, VFX.
We actually had to go back and digitally replace the wrong staff with the proper staff in every shot. I still get apologies from Matt.
Abandon the cripples!
We needed some more elderly people to be extras, so I just decided, well, it would be great if we went to one place where they all were, and then if we needed a whole bunch of them, we could bring them out together.
My name is Arthur Avis from the Somerset Retirement Village at Aotea. On my left, we have Earl Cunningham, David Bowie, and John Cowan. He's the good-looking guy over on the far side. Ron Dunbar, he's a computer expert, and our snooker champion, Vic Smith.
It was a fantastic casting experience, actually, because we went to their village and had a bit of a chat and got to meet everybody, so it was a fantastic way to collect extras.
Hollywood, here we go. Off to kill Sorks.
And they all came together in the Somerset Retirement Village van, and what was really sweet was we just drove them straight through the set, all the way right up to wardrobe and makeup. You know, these extras were hand-delivered in their own van, and they felt really, really important, because they were.
There was a really demanding scene that we shot where they charge out of the Great Hall.
The first thing that they encountered was actually 2 flights of steps.
And all of a sudden, we were looking at these stairs going,
We had people there right up until their 70s and 80s.
We had Dorothy. She was probably the eldest extra on the set.
86, I think, something like that. And she became the Queen of Extras, I think is what she was called.
I get treated like the Queen around here. Oh, I'd like to have been an elf. An elf? Yes. We make good elves. They don't have any old elves.
You're right doing that stunt, eh?
Yeah, it's good as gold.
Charging through as fast as you can. Lots and lots of screaming and gusto.
It's a good day today.
They came charging down the stairs, up and over steps, through fountains. They were troopers.
Okay, cut.
They're absolutely brilliant, and nobody got injured.
Oh, you're going down.
I'd like to think we are kicking your ass, but that ain't happening.
We absolutely go into battle with them, and it's fantastic. And I get to kill an orc, which is a great triumph.
Okay, lots of energy, orcs. Lots of aggression, late towners. Get charged up, ready to die. Get charged up.
3, 2, 1, action!
It's just like American Gridiron.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Lake Towners are turning the tides on the orcs. I'll tell you what, in Dale, it's a resurgence of the Lake Towners.
Alfred, towards the end of the movie, of course, he is a snivelling coward and only concerned about wealth.
At this point, you may have noticed I'm dressed as a woman in order to pan out.
It's like, Alfred, Your slip showing. You know, and then
We were trying to make this bra, basically, that would then hold all these coins, and these coins are really quite heavy.
quite a lot of stuff. Yes, okay. It'll fall out.
So we'd stuff it and we'd get it big and we'd go and show Pete. And he'd say, it's not big enough. I want bigger. He says, I want Diana doors.
I'm top heavy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Bosoms full of gold.
It's about breasts of gold. It's about the titties of gold. The boobs full of gold.
Get up. Normally, the light would get to a certain point and you had to really stop because the light dropped too low for the camera. However, we did decide to keep going. We were on a roll, and so Andrew started pulling out lights, and we kept filming and kept filming.
Action.
Halfway through a take, I'm like, are we got pyros on this shot?
Is it a smoke alarm?
That's a lot of smoke. That's a lot of smoke.
Bit of a fire.
Then obviously a very well-oiled safety team kind of swing into gear, go rushing off to find how extensive it is.
We quickly realized it was actually the generator who was supposed to feed all the power for all the lights who actually caught on fire.
Rich, you finally set fire to the truck, eh? Sucked so much juice it couldn't handle it anymore.
After the fire brigade extinguished the fire, we made sure that everything was safe. There was still smoke going on.
You know, there was literally like huge billowing smoke coming out the back of the set.
I think Smoke is sitting behind that wall, puffing away. I think he's sitting there.
Obviously, it was all being taken care of and nobody was in any danger, but it was nice to hear Peter say, do we have to evacuate? And then someone to say, no, it's blowing in the other direction. And then for him to say, OK, then, rolling.
All right, shall we shoot? I mean, yes. Yes.
We just carried on the other side of the set while there's plumes of black, ominous, Smaug-esque smoke floating up behind Dale. You know, it couldn't have been more perfect.
Peter and Carol was like, OK, is everyone safe? Nobody's hurt? The set is safe? Thank you, guys. Just let's cut that siren and keep shooting, please. And I think within 10 seconds...
There you go, and action.
We cut the sirens and then we were shooting again. And Peter was like, well, that's perfect, even as a background. Maybe we should just turn the camera and just have that smoke going on in the background. That would be perfect.
And that was a great one. Let's do one more. That was terrific, Ron. That was terrific.
In the Battle of the Five Armies and also in the extended edition, we have just one scene with an acorn that Bilbo has that originally was going to pay off in another scene in Dale. That at the moment is a bit of a standalone gag in the movie where Thorin catches him looking at something. We're supposed to all think he's been caught with the stone.
It's in the reach now. We don't want to see what comes out.
What is that? In your hand. Show me.
I picked it up in Bayon's garden.
So Bilbo's got this acorn that he's gathered on his travels that he knows is kind of a totemistic thing, that when he gets home he's going to plant it and something beautiful is going to come out of this hell.
It's a moment when you see Thorin nearly come back from his madness, and it's because of the simplicity of something that Bilbo's done to just capture this little acorn in his pocket, because he's thinking about home.
You've carried it all this way.
I'm going to plant it in my garden, in Bag End.
And so the acorn became, therefore, a symbol of Bilbo's life, basically. Is he going to live or die? Is the acorn ever going to get planted back in the Shire, or is it not? It's like, you know, in Lone Pine, the Battle of Lone Pine in Gallipoli.
Right.
In Gallipoli, there was a solitary pine tree where the Battle of Lone Pine happened. The Australians got a seedling from the one pine tree that was there, and that pine tree's planted in Canberra in a memorial. And so pines are a dime a dozen, but you know, that came from Lone Pine. The acorn was supposed to be 2 beats. It was supposed to be a beat where we introduced the notion he has it. And then the second beat was one that was taking place in Dale, where Bilbo decides that he's just going to dig a hole right there and then in Dale and plant the acorn there. What there is a sense that you will die, but life will continue.
And are we going to see later in the film the sapling?
Well, you remember that tree in The Lord of the Rings? It's that tree. Which one?
Okay. All right. It was a new scene that had been written, I think, that day, where I reached Gandalf through the crowds of people.
Stand up! The causeway has fallen. The elves still hold the northern gate.
Not for much longer.
It really feels like this is the end. This is the end.
Yeah, at this stage of the battle, they think that all is lost.
Get some bowmen up into those towers.
There are no bowmen left. I let myself imagine this city restored. We would take what had been destroyed and rebuild it. We would wash away this sadness. And the streets would once again be filled with life, full of hope. No. Come now. Don't despair. What would you have us do?
Do?
Here. I'll show you. Bilbo! What is that? That's a promise. Beneath all that blood and dirt, there is a chance of new life. It may sound hopeless, it may sound foolish, but really, what else can you do when faced with death? What can anyone do? You go on living.
Bilbo knows, or he thinks he knows at this point, he's not ever going to make it back to Bag End.
This is as far as I'm going to get. I'm not going to get home. So let's just plant this simple acorn here.
In blood-soaked soil, in the middle of all this brutality, there is this very delicate, fragile, poignant moment.
And I have a memory, a sort of sense memory, I suppose, of there just being blood in that soil and putting the acorn in there, and there was blood on my hands and blood on the earth. So there was something right about that I was planting this life and a beautiful thing in the midst of this horrible blood everywhere.
Cat there. That was terrific. It was starting to feel the blue bit. It was great.
It's very prophetic and very beautiful, and so yeah, it's been a very lovely day. Yeah, good day to remember.
So the fact we never use that scene in the cut, that then implies that when he arrives home into the Shire, into Hobbiton, he still has that in his pocket. He's able to plant it in his garden. As soon as we finished shooting that shot of Martin and showing the acorn, I went up to him and I said, "Can I have the acorn, please?" I'll take the acorn. Thank you. That's going to be... This is the... I'm going to plant this in the garden, and one day...
What's it grow? It might be growing somewhere right now.
In Peter's garden?
Yeah, yeah.
One day it'll grow. And every time I look at it, I'll remember.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you all. Thank you. Good night.
Remember everything that happened, the good, the bad. And how lucky I am that I made it home.
And the road goes ever on.